Hello everyone, and welcome to a fresh install of Windows NT Workstation 4.0 on a Compaq Deskpro EN small form factor. Well, let's get started, and along the way I'll talk more about this computer, the NT setup process, all that jazz. So first up there we got our beautiful Compaq boot splash. This message here about the option ROM, that's because I have a SCSI controller in here, and so it has messages to show during the boot process. I don't have any devices hooked up yet. We'll get to that later. And there we go. The NT4 installer boots immediately. There's no prompt like there is in 2000 and XP to enter the setup. So yeah, if that CD is in there, you're starting setup from scratch. So now it's just loading drivers for common devices you would need during this initial setup phase, which is essentially, yeah, CD-ROM, keyboard, SCSI controllers, IDE controllers, the bare essentials for getting the system started during the setup phase anyway. And there's that beautiful familiar NT boot splash. You can see the system just has one processor, as was typical of the day, and a half gig of memory, which is the maximum that this system will take. It actually has 3 DIMM slots, so you would think 768, 256 each, but the Intel 815i chipset doesn't allow for more than a half gig. Okay. Welcome to Setup. Setup program for the Microsoft Windows NT operating system version 4. All right, so let's get started. Setup NT now. So there's our mass storage controllers, detected the IDE controller and our Adaptec SCSI controller. Very good, carry on. Yeah, this is a warning about the hard drive having more sectors than DOS can handle. That's fine. All right, license agreement. Agree. Very good. Okay, setup is found. Windows NT on your hard disk. Yeah, it's already there. I'll tell you about that later. So what we're going to say is new version because we want to install this from fresh. And that is my computer. Very good. And there's that old install. So we're going to delete that partition, enter. L because I'm really sure. And now here's all the unpartitioned space. This disk is actually a 45 gig disk, but it's only recognizing 8 gigs, which is fine because you can't install NT on a partition bigger than 4 gigabytes anyway. I can show you what happens if you try. Format with Ntfs. Boop. Cannot format the partition because it is too large. NT itself can of course handle partitions that are bigger than that as additional partitions, but not for the boot. So we're going to create a partition, and just to keep this fast, we're going to do 2048 for 2 gigs. So we'll have a 2 gig system partition that we're going to format as NT. And of course, the bigger the partition, the longer it takes. So yeah, 2 gigs is fine. And it wasn't until, XP that they added the Ntfs quick format option. So you had to, have time to kill if you had a huge hard drive for Windows 2000 anyway, because you'd have to do a full format. Oh yeah, you can hear the fans ramping up in there. This system only has 2 fans. There's a CPU fan, and the fan in the power supply is the case exhaust fan. All right, setup installs Windows NT files onto your hard disk. Choose the location. WinNT is just fine. We do not need to check for corruption, so we're going to skip that. All right, and here we go. So now it's just copying over the bootstrapping files. So the bare minimum it needs to boot into the graphical installer. Not too much to copy here. CD-ROM drive is decently fast. What's at a 40 speed? It's not the original that came with the system. The system did come with the original CD-ROM drive. Unfortunately, the tray mechanism's just not working quite right. It either doesn't eject at all or it requires some help. There might be a busted drive band in there, or some rail might need some grease on it. Not quite sure. It's a rainy day project to fix that because it does match the front bezel there perfectly. But this drive I have in there now is a CDRW, which is handy. I've burned a few CDs on there. And we're just about done. All right, this portion of setup has completed successfully. Also remove compact discs. Yes, because as we saw, the system will boot right off the CD into the installer, and we want it booting off of the hard drive now, which has the bootstrap installer. That CPQ SSF 0001, that was me. I added that in the BIOS, which is pretty cool on this machine. You can set an asset tag and it shows there on boot, which is nice. These systems were definitely designed for business use, so that it's got cool management stuff like that. Okay, so I lied a bit. This part is actually not the graphical installer yet. What you'll see here is a message that the file system is fat and needs to be converted to Ntfs, which is odd. I would be really interested to know the story behind that. And that, if it is FAT16, that would also explain the 4 GB limit, because if memory serves, you cannot have a FAT partition that's larger than 4 gigs. Yeah, see? The type of the file system is FAT, it's running check disk, converting drive to Ntfs. Converting the file system. And that was fast because there's hardly anything on there. And now on this reboot, it'll actually go into the installer. You can see there, network service boot. This thing has great PXE boot support as well. I used that on a different hard drive to install Debian. Yeah, Debian still has i386 support, as in 32-bit x86. And it worked great installing it over the network. All right, there we go. So, little difference here. Now it shows that it has Service Pack 1. This installer has Service Pack 1 built into it. And as far as I know, there were never any other releases of the installer with Service Packs slipstreamed into them, which is too bad because the first Service Packs came out pretty quickly in succession. I think Service Pack 1 came out 2 or 3 months after the original release, and then the next one came out just a few months after that. And you really need at least Service Pack 4 to install pretty much anything. There's a lot of software that just refuses to install without Service Pack 4. All right. Please insert the compact disc labeled Windows NT Workstation CD-ROM. Ooh, interesting. You can also click OK if you want files to be copied from an alternate location, such as a floppy disk or a network server. Now that was something I would be interested to figure out how that works. I think PXE installs became fairly easy around the Windows, I want to say 7 era, but before that it was, I think with XP you could do it, but before that it was really weird and tricky. So, all right, we will do a typical installation. Let's do custom. Let's see what our options are. All right, my name is Meatball Time, and computer name Deskpro NT. Rubbish password. We do not need an emergency disk. We can create one later if we really want to, but I don't. All right, select, oh, nope. I leaned on the enter key. let's see what our options are. Accessories. Yeah, I want desktop wallpapers and mouse pointers. Yeah. Communications, 3 of 3. Perfect. Games. I want them. Let me guess. Should be pinball. Ah, yeah. Freecell, pinball, Minesweeper, Solitaire. Fantastic. Multimedia. Oh, I love the robot sound scheme. Actually, I love all these sound schemes. These were all from the Windows 95 Plus pack. Windows messaging is no. You know what? Fine. We'll install it. I think you need, for one of those, you need NT server. Okay, so I'm not going to do this right now, the install networking, because I don't have the drivers. Well, NT doesn't have the drivers for the built-in network card, and I don't have the drivers available in a way that the installer could find them right now anyway, so we'll install networking later. All right. Ooh, last thing here. Central Europe. Yeah, 640 by 480 is fine. We'll deal with that later when we install the graphics drivers. So here we go, copying files. From D, i386. One might wonder, why i386? Why specify? That's because NT was designed, well actually this installer does support other architectures. It supports MIPS R4000 Alpha, and I'm totally forgetting one. Oh, PowerPC, yeah. And they dropped support for all of them after a couple. All of them except, I forget. After the first 1 or 2 service packs, they dropped support for a bunch of architectures. All right, now once again, we have to actually remove the CD-ROM drive, or the CD, and reboot again. And this time, I'm going to turn on the Jaz drive and put the disk in. So now, we should see that the SCSI controller finds the Jaz drive. There we go. Iomega Jaz, 1 GB. Ooh, there we go. NT. I've done a couple installs this way before, and I found that if you don't have the actual Jaz disk in the drive, it will hang the boot process. I suspect that's because this shows up as a hard drive, so operating system's probably trying to probe it and mount the disk, but not finding a disk, and it just gets confused. Probably need drivers or a later service pack to work around that. Hey, here we go. Ready to log in. So welcome to Windows NT. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So one might ask, why the Jaz drive? I mean, why not? Jaz drives are great. But what I have on here is the drivers. I don't actually have any floppy disks, and I don't want to waste burning a CD-ROM with drivers that are just for the system. So I've got a Jaz drive. It works great. So first thing I'm going to do is install the network card. Reason for that is NT doesn't actually install the whole networking subsystem at all until you have a network card. And the problem is, if we were to install a service pack and then install the network stack, it would install it from the original installer CD, and then we'd have to install the service pack again, which is a bother. So yeah, this guy here. So we're going to give it a path we can remember. C drivers Nick. You'll see why in a minute. If you press install software, it installs the Intel software, but not the driver. So that's not that convenient. So what we have to do is go into the control panel, network. Now it's going to say Windows NT networking is not installed. Do you want to install it? I do. What's that? All right, we are wired to a network. I know that NT doesn't support my network card out of the box, so I'm going to do select from list and have disk. Now this is why I wanted a path that's easy to remember, because there is no browse button here, unlike just about every other file picker you find in Windows. So C drivers NIC, there we go, Intel Pro 100. And now it wants the installer file. So once again, installer, CD. Now, i386 should have our files. What? Oh, is it not ready yet? What? Oh, you know what? It's because I connected the Jaz drive and now that's the D drive. Windows is really fun with drive letters like that. It just kind of rearranges them as it sees fit. I do have DHCP, thank you for asking. So we will use it. And there we go. Now it's copying this whole network subsystem from the CD at Service Pack 1 level. So now when we install SP6, it will actually Service Pack the networking stack. Windows NT is now ready to start the network. Very good. I actually do have an Active Directory domain, but it's running off of a Synology NAS, and for some reason NT4 will not join it. I have debugged it as much as I possibly can, and I cannot find the problem with it. I think it's the way NetBIOS reports the IP address of the server. And the problem is my Synology is also running Docker, and Synology is reporting the IP address of the Docker bridge as one of the addresses of the domain controller, which it of course is not, because it's a private address that's only available on the machine. So actually I don't really need Docker on there anymore because I have a Proxmox system running Docker. Anyway, let's boot. So yeah, I'd like to get that fixed at some point. The other thing I've thought about is just running NT Server 4 in a virtual machine on my Proxmox server. This boot process is not too bad. This computer's pretty overpowered for NT. And might hang for a second. I've noticed that after installing networking, it sometimes likes to hang for a bit until it gets an IP address. So if you disconnect the network cable, your boot can take a long time. All right, so next, on a Jaz drive here, we have Service Pack 6. There were a few updates that came out after Service Pack 6, the Service Pack 6A and a few hotfixes. I don't need those right now, that's not that important. I just want Service Pack 6 so I can start installing other stuff. And in the next video, we're going to dual boot this machine with Windows 2000, and you have to have at least Service Pack, I want to say 4 or 5, so that NT4 can support Ntfs 5 that came with Windows 2000. If you don't do that, your NT install becomes unbootable. All right, welcome to Windows NT4 Service Pack 6 setup. I accept, and I don't want to make any backups. This is a pretty quick service pack as service packs go. If you've ever installed the XP Service Pack 2, even on virtual machine on a modern system, it's still slow. This one's fast. These service packs were pretty simple. It's pretty much file copies and probably some registry updates. Some of the other patches are so fast you can't even be sure they worked, or you have the feeling they didn't work because they're so fast. All right, Service Pack 6 installation is complete. And yeah, sure, let's restart. Yeah, we'll do that. I sometimes like to try to do a bunch of driver installs in one boot, but I'll let Service Pack 6 get applied. Yeah, let's actually have a look at the box here to double check the supported platforms. Here we go. Yeah. Personal computer with a 486 or higher processor, or a RISC-based workstation with an Alpha, MIPS R4000, or PowerPC. Yeah. There we go. Just hit enter on the boot there. 16 megs of RAM. Typical installation, 110 megs. Not bad. Pretty small. I don't want to open this. It's still sealed. Certificate of authenticity from the year 2000. See, that says it includes Service Pack 4, but I can almost guarantee you if I open this up, there's a separate CD in there with Service Pack 4 on it. Here we go, Service Pack 6. We're ready to rock. All right. I don't know what it's waiting for. It's not doing anything. But again, I feel like it's once you install networking, things slow down a bit. There could have been some post-service pack installation stuff as well, I suppose. All right, now, what's next? Let's get, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to use this drivers directory here on the hard drive, because if memory serves, these are self-extracting archives, and if I run it on the Jaz drive, it's gonna want to extract in place, and there's no way to have it do it somewhere else. Okay, video. Yeah. Spacebar to continue. So this system has a, oops. So these systems had two options. You could have the Intel integrated graphics, or you could have an Nvidia TNT2, which is cool. That's the predecessor to the GeForce. And I'm lucky this system has the Nvidia chip. So this is actually a pretty decent machine for playing some old games. All right, let's get the graphics driver set up. So display type, change. And have disk. Hey, now we have a browse button. That's nice. And so C, drivers, video. Here we go. So Nvidia Riva TNT2. Yeah, that's the one. You're about to install a third-party driver. Oh my, that's fine. And now it's going to prompt me for a reboot. Nope. Windows NT loves reboots. Everything you do, reboot, reboot, reboot. So the next thing we're going to do is install the sound card. So unlisted or updated driver. Again, browse to C, drivers, sound. And we got a SoundMax integrated digital audio driver. Beautiful. Okay. Oddly enough, it doesn't prompt you for a restart there, but the sound will equally not work without a reboot. We can also check network connectivity here. Oh, look at this. Thank you for using Microsoft Internet Explorer on Windows NT 4. Connecting through ISDN. Oh, nice. 1996. Believe this is version 2? Yeah, look at that. IE2. Based on NCSA Mosaic. That's fantastic. Yeah, the University of Illinois. That's where the guys behind that moved over to create Netscape. So now if we do dl.mroach.com, that should actually work. Yeah. Oddly enough, type in another one here, ip.mroach.com, doesn't work because IE2 does not implement HTTP 1.1, so no host header. Not great. Yeah, I have a couple useful things on there for bootstrapping a new system. So what were we doing? Drivers, yes. There's one other driver I don't have on the Jaz disk. I have it on a network install. That's to bring proper-ish USB support to NT. The keyboard and mouse I'm using now are PS2. USB does not really work until you install a third-party driver, and then it works. Oh, one other thing that's fun. See, WinNT, and then go, see, oh man, these old file browsers, and there's an option for this. Yeah, single window browsing. It's a bit more of a sane way of doing it. So, OEM info and OEM logo, if you copy those over to System32, and then right-click on your computer, boom, Compaq logo. That's what I want. Okay, I'm going to restart one more time. And if we're lucky on the next boot here, we'll have proper colors. That's pretty ugly as it is. Yeah, Windows NT is pretty reboot happy. When you do, even if you change network configuration, like manual IP address, or yeah, switching to DHCP, yeah, you need to reboot for that. Is that true? I'm pretty sure. We can check. Yeah, we also should change the timeout there. That's way too long. Oh yeah, another thing you'll notice after SP6, see how it says OS Loader 4.0.0? Now it says 4.0.1. Can't tell you which service pack did that, but got a teeny tiny version bump. I wonder what they changed. Maybe it was just dropping support for architectures? And if ever you have some hardware problems and your system won't boot, this is where you'll see it, like a failed hard drive. Ooh, look at that. Beautiful 256 color. All right, I'm gonna put the mic over by the computer so you can hear the startup sound, which I love. Any day now. What you doing? Very quiet sound, but we'll turn it up. I love that. Okay. Let me get all these windows. Go away. A new graphics driver has been installed. The default system resolution from the driver has been temporarily used by the system. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm only going to turn it up to 800 by 600, otherwise it's going to get tiny on camera here. So true color, 800 by 600, 60 hertz is perfect because I'm using an LCD. And then we're going to test it using the Windows NT test pattern. Isn't that beautiful? It's actually really practical too for aligning your screen so you can see where the edges are. I did see the bitmap correctly, thank you. So now I can hit apply comfortably. So background. Oh yeah, I installed all those extra backgrounds, didn't I? What are these things? Should we tile that? Man, that is not great. But what I do like, keep it simple, NT right in the middle. Always pleasing. Yeah, since I have the Riva in here, I actually get some decent 3D graphics. Not that this is a particularly demanding test, but I actually did have a system once that had terrible performance with that screensaver. We can do 3D text, max resolution, large, slow. And then, fun fact here, you type in volcano for the text, and what does it do? It cycles through names of volcanoes. Cool. All right. Yeah, so there we have it. We've got a fully functional installation of Windows NT. Got our Compaq logo there. Oh yeah, we can go into the startup and shutdown here. We can change that to 4 seconds. I think that's enough. If you don't know what you're doing in 4 seconds, I don't know, man. We can have a quick look at the boot.ini. That's where the boot configuration is. So there's our timeout 4. And here are the strings that tell the system where to find the operating system. So this multi-R disk R disk partition, I want to say that's from MIPS-based systems. I could be wrong, and now that I've said it, I probably am. But yeah, there's not too much left that we would want to install. I would definitely install IE4 with active desktop, just because that's a good throwback. And yeah, those couple extra patches, but in general, we're good here. Should even be able to map a network drive to my file server. Yeah, there we go. Mapping network drives. Really, really handy, because then I've got somewhere in here I have the drivers for, yeah, there we go, NT4 USB. Let's do it. So this is actually from Dell. Well, they distributed it. It's from a company called Inside Out Networks. So let's do, again, keep ourselves organized, C drivers, USB. Cool, Inside Out Networks. And then if I want to use a keyboard and mouse that are USB later, it'll be much easier. So USB stack, 3Com Vista imaging. I mean, that sounds cool. I'd love to own one, but USB human interface device drivers, edge port, mass storage. Yeah, all of it. All of it. Oh, what's going on? I think it's doing stuff. I'll let it do stuff for a second here. Yeah, I found previously using a USB keyboard and mouse without the drivers, they would work for a little while, and then the mouse would start to do this thing where it would randomly be sending click events, and it would only move up and down. Not that useful, but this fixes that. Drivers loaded successfully. There's no need to reboot your computer. That's amazing and unusual. So there we have a little USB icon down in the corner now. I'm going to turn up the volume here. Actually have to go to increase the wave balance. So to say goodbye here, we'll shut down and we'll get to hear that beautiful NT shutdown sound. And that shutdown sound is actually the startup sound in reverse. Guess they ran out of time on that one and thought, why not? What's going on here? All right, I'm going to eject my Jaz disk as well. Thank you, Jaz disk. And that's it. It's now safe to turn off your computer. NT4 did not have ATX power shutoff. So we press the button and we say goodbye. That's it.